Yeah, we start the Gemara today in the top of Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top of the page. Ma'ishna. So the last point we learned yesterday was that when it comes to the mitzvah of Oylas Re'iyah, to bring the carbon Re'iyah, so then a person, even that if he's only deaf or only mute, he's potter. But when it comes to the mitzvah of Shalmei Simcha, to bring the carbon Shlamim for the Simcha of Yantiv, so over there, a person that's either deaf or mute is going to be chayiv. A person that's both deaf-mute, which is what's usually called a cheresh in the language of Chazal, then he's going to be potter. So Gemara now explains the source for this difference. I mean, usually, regarding all mitzvahs of the Torah, only if you're a real cheresh, deaf-mute, then you potter. So what we need to explain is why when it comes to Oylas Re'iyah is it different? That if you're either a deaf or a mute, you're still going to be potter. So the Gemara, the petiri. What's the difference that when it comes to the Oylas Re'iyah, even a deaf or a mute is also going to be potter? And why when it comes to the carbon of Shalmei Simcha are you going to be chayiv? So the Gemara explains, the answer is because when it comes to the carbon of Oylas Re'iyah, we learn out the Re'iyah that it says here by this carbon from the Re'iyah that it says by Hakel. What does it say by Hakel? You gather the whole nation, the men, women, and children. And there in the pasuk it says, "B'voy kol Yisrael le'ra'is," that all Yidden come to see the Eibishter. So because it says there the term le'ra'is, and it says here by the mitzvah of to come to be Oyla Regel, and the Oylas Re'iyah also says the term Yeira'ah kol Zchuchar. So we compare the two expressions of Re'iyah that just like by Hakel, as the Gemara is going to learn out right now, that by Hakel, if a person is either deaf or mute, he's potter, so too, when you get to the carbon of Oylas Re'iyah, we learn out from Hakel the term Re'iyah, you'll be potter as well. In fact, the Gemara v'hasam minala, and over there, by a Hakel, how do we know that a person that's either deaf or mute is potter? T'chsiv, because the pasuk there says, L'man yishmu, l'man yilmedu, that you come to hear the king read from the Sefer Torah and to learn. Tanya, we learned in Abraisa what these two psukim teach us. Laman Yishmu, when it says that you hear, Prat Lemedaba Venishemeya. So that comes to exclude a person that can talk but can't hear. Laman Yilmedu, Prat Leshemei Venemedaber. When it says Laman Yilmedu, that excludes a person that could hear and can't talk. So we see that by Hakel, person that's deaf or mute is potter. So we learn out to Oylas Re'iyah the same thing that you potter. Frag the Gemara, what did it say over here? That Laman Yilmedu comes to exclude a person that can hear but he can't talk. So it sounds like that a person that can hear but can't talk can't learn. And that's why we're excluding him from L'man Yilmedu. He can't learn, so he's potter. So for the Gemara, we say, a person that is a mute, L'gamar, he can't learn. But for Hahanu Trei Ilmi, there were these two people that were both mute. The Hava B'Shvivusi, the Rebbe, they were in the neighborhood of Rebbe, and they were B'nei Berate, the Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada. They were the nephews of Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada. Amri others say B'nei Achse, the Rabbi Yochanan. Others say that they were also nephews of the son of the daughter of Rabbi Yochanan. And the Chol Emes Hava Ayel Rebbe Limbe Medrasha. Whenever Rebbe came into the Bismedrash, Hava Ayel v'Yasvi Kamayu, they would come and sit in front of Rebbe, U'Menaide B'Reishayu, and they would sit and listen to him and shake their heads like they're understanding. U'Merachshin Vasayu, and they would like be moving their lips, but they couldn't talk. And then what happened? The boy Rebbe Rachmi Alayu, Rebbe davened for them, v'itzu, and they were healed, and they opened their mouth. They were able to talk. And v'shtakach, and it was discovered that they were very proficient. They knew hilchasa, all the halachas of the Mishnayos and Sifra, Sifri, all the Medrashim on the Torah, and the Kulish Hashas, and the entire Shas they knew. Or there's another gear says that Kula Talmuda. So we see that even a person that can hear but can't talk is able to learn very well. So how can we say that in the pasuk Laman Yilmedu that it comes to exclude a person that could hear but can't talk? Why he can't learn? He could learn. So the Gemara answers, Amazutra, so Kribei, way you have to read the pasuk is Laman Yilamdu, not Laman Yilmedu that you're going to learn, but Yilamdu, to teach. That's what the pasuk means. And therefore a person that's mute can't teach. Ravashi now comes and says, Vadai Laman Yalamduhu. That when that pasuk, when it says Yilmedu, definitely you're going to have to change the pronunciation and read it Yilamdu, teaching. Even without the question that we just asked, from the story of the two people that are able to learn without being able to talk. But even if you just look into the pshat of the pasuk itself, it's clear that you have to change it from yilmedu to yilamdu, like the answer of Mazutra. Why? He explains. If you're going to say laman yilmedu, that all it means is laman yilmedu, that you're coming to learn, not yilamdu to teach. You're coming to learn. So now, and what are you saying? And then you'll tell me that someone that can't talk is not able to learn. So, if someone that can't talk is not able to learn, so then you could say as well, so someone that's not able to hear is for sure not able to learn, right? If someone that can't talk, we consider him to be someone that can't learn. If you can't hear at all, how is he going to learn? So for sure he can't learn. So if so, the question in the pasuk itself is going to become, Hi, milaman yishmu nafke. So if so, I could already learn out from laman yishmu that a person that can't hear, can't learn, that he's patur, that is, because it says laman yishmu, that he has to be able to hear. So if you look in the pasuk itself, it's extra. Why does it have to say laman yishmu and laman yilmedu? I could already know from laman yishmu that this person is patur. Or I could learn from laman yilmedu alone that this person that can't hear is patur. So why do I have to have both? Elavadai leman yilamduhu. Since it already says leman yishmu, when it says leman yilmadu, it doesn't mean leman yilmadu, because that I already learned out from before, but it means leman yilamdu. Even a person that can talk, but again, he can hear, that is, but he can't talk, but he can't teach. If he can't talk, he can't teach, and that's enough of a reason that he should be pater. So this is the source by Hakel, that a person that's either a deaf or a mute is pater from the mitzvah of Hakel, and from there we learn out for the Re'iyah, for the mitzvah of Re'iyah, to come to the Beis HaMikdash and to bring the Eilis Re'iyah as well, that if you're either deaf or mute, you're going to be pater.
So when he comes to the Beis HaMikdash to bring a korban simcha,
yeah,
he has to come for
the shalmi simcha, but I don't know if he has to. But I don't know if he has to. The carbon of the mitzvah of Re'iyah is two mitzvahs. He has to appear in the azar itself. He has to enter into the azar itself, and he has to bring a special carbon by Oila. For a person that's only bringing a shalmi simcha, lav dafki, he has to come into the azara, and he doesn't have to bring that special carbon of Eilis Re'iyah. Yeah, he doesn't have to come into the azara. Rav Tanchum said another halacha, cheresh ba'oznei achas. A person that's just deaf on one ear is also pater min Re'iyah. He's also going to be pater from coming to the azara and bringing a Eilis Re'iyah. Shenemar, because the pasuk by Hakel says ba'ozneim, that they are going to listen to the Torah that's read with their ears. And it uses the plural term, azneim. They have to have hear to be able to hear with both ears. Like the Gemara, v'hai bazneim, but this term bazneim, mi bayale, we need this for the simple pshat of the pasuk, which means bazneim the kul Yisrael. That when the king reads from the Torah, he reads in the ears of all the Yidden. It doesn't come to teach you that you have to have both a hearing in both ears. Answers the Gemara, hahu mi neged kol Yisrael nafke. This that the king reads for all of Klal Yisrael, we learn from what the pasuk says, that he reads it for all kol Yisrael. So Azneihem is referring to every individual, that he has to have both ears, that he hears on both ears. In fact, the Gemara, no, but neged kol Yisrael is not a source for this, because imi neged kol Yisrael, if it would say mi neged kol Yisrael, hava minna afagav delay shami, I would think that this is even if they don't hear. Kasav rachmane ba'azneihem, v'hu deshami. So therefore the Torah writes ba'azneihem to come and tell me that every individual is chayiv to be there only if he can hear. So, but how do you know that it means that he has to be able to hear with two ears? So the Gemara answers, no, but ahum laman yishmu nafka. We already said that you learn out from laman yishmu that the person has to be able to hear. So therefore when it says ba'azneihem, it's coming to say that he has to be able to hear with both ears. And from Hakel, we learn out that the same applies to Re'iyah as well, that only if you can hear with both ears are you chayiv in the mitzvah of Re'iyah. Another statement, Rav Tanchum said, Chagigah b'raglei achas, a person that's lame with one foot. There's one foot that's not healthy. Pater min Re'iyah, he's also pater from coming to the Beis HaMikdash. Shenemar, the pasuk says, regolim. When it speaks about coming to the Beis HaMikdash for the Yomim Tovim, right? So it always says the term regolim, oile regolim, shalosh regolim tachik li bashana. Okay, so that's the source. And regolim is a plural term. You have to be able to walk with both of your feet healthy. But this term regolim that it says, I would need this to teach me prat labali kavin, that this excludes a person that is missing a leg and he has an artificial leg. Not a person that has his feet, but it's just not healthy and he's limping. But it's a labali kavin, a person that's missing a leg altogether. That's what a golem teaches me. So the Gemara answers, no, I don't need a golem for that. Haho mi pa'amim nafke. The Torah also, when it talks about being oile regel, so it says in the pasuk, shalosh pa'amim bashana. 3 times a year you should come. So now the Gemara says, the Tanya we learned pa'amim, when it says in the Torah the term pa'amim, and pa'amim el regalim. The term pa'amim means the feet of the person. Even though the simple pshat of the term pa'amim means times, 3 times, but nevertheless the Gemara darshans that it refers to the feet of a person. Where do we see this? There's a lashon that it says in the pasuk, termasna regel, raglei ani, the feet of a poor person, pa'ame dalim, the footsteps of a poor person. So we see pa'ame. Pa'ame means the footsteps of the feet of a poor person. And v'aymer, there's another pasuk, ma'yafu pa'mayach bana'alim bas nadiv. How beautiful are your feet and your shoes, the daughter of Nadiv. So again we see that pamayach means feet. So therefore when it says in the Torah shalish pa'amim, that's coming to teach me that only a person that has 2 feet is obligated to come to the Beis HaMikdash. And then when it says again regalim, it's coming to teach me that not only does he have to have 2 feet, but both feet have to be healthy. And he shouldn't be a chiger, a lame, even with 1 foot. Now the Gemara brought this pasuk here, ma'yafu pamayach bana'alim bas Nadiv, which is actually talking about the Yidden being oile regel. So it's going to darshan and explain this pasuk. Darish Rave, so Rave darshan then explained, "My dechsev ma'yofa pamoyach paneolim bas nodiv." What's the pshat of this pasuk? Kama noin ragleim shal Yisrael. How beautiful are the feet of the Yidden b'shah sha'oilin l'regel. At the time when they come to be oil regel to the Beis HaMikdash. Bas nodiv. What does this term bas nodiv mean? Bitei shel Avram Avinu. This is the daughter of Avram Avinu, the descendant of Avram Avinu, shenikra nodiv, which is called a nodiv. Avram was called a generous one. Shenemar nidivei amim nesafu, the generous ones of Yidden, they gather together. Am elokei Avram, the nation and the God of Avram. So it says over here in the pasuk nidivei amim. Who are these nidivei amim referring to? So this refers to the Gadim, to all the Gadim that come as well. As Gemara is going to explain now. Elokei Avram v'leiloi elokei Yitzchak and Yaakov. It says here that is only the term that Eibusher is elokei Avram and not Yitzchak and Yaakov. Ella, the answer is Elokei Avram shayitchil leGadim. The reason it says Elokei Avram is because in this pasuk it refers to the fact that all the converts, the Gadim, also joined the Yidden to be oile regel, and the Gadim are considered to be the descendants of Avram, because Avram was the first of all the Gadim. Rav Kahane Dorash, Rav Kahane Darshant, Rav Nosson Bar Minyomi Mishum Rav Tanchum. Amar Rav Kahane said, Dorish Rav Nosson Bar Minyoni Mishum Rav Tanchum. This is an unrelated drasha, but it's also in the name of Rav Tanchum. What's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Vahaboy reik ein boy mayim? The pit was empty when they threw Yosef into the pit, but it had no water. Mimashma shanema vahaboy reik, it says that it was empty. Any yedei shein boy mayim. So don't I understand that it had no water in it? Ella, what does it mean? Mayim ein boy avol nochoshen v'akravim yesh boy. There was no water in there, but there were snakes and scorpions in there. The Rebbe spoke about this Gemara once by Riches, it's in Chelik Tezvav, in the Chanukah Sicha, and there the Rebbe explained that what this means is that it's talking about Torah as well. When a person's mind is empty of the water of Torah, what happens? And all the snakes and scorpions fill up a person's mind. As long as a person fills his mind with Torah, and especially the Mayim of Torah. What's the Mayim of Torah? Person that learns Torah connecting to the Naisna Torah, the Bittul to Torah, just like it says regarding water, that water flows from a high place down to a low place. When a person learns Torah properly, so then all the snakes and scorpions that could enter into a person's mind are out. And when they're not, then they find their way back in. There was a story with these 2 Tanoim, Shaholchula Hakpul Penei Rabbi Yeshua B'Pkiyin. They went to greet their Rebbe, Rabbi Yeshua, in Pkiyin. Rashi says it was on Yontif, and a person is obligated to go and greet his Rebbe on a Yontif, and they went to greet him. So Rabbi Yeshua said to them, what chiddush was there in the Bismedrash today? Amrulai, so they said to him, Talmidecha anu, we are your students, umemecha anu shaisim, and we drink your waters, and we didn't come to tell you our chiddushim, we want to hear from you. So he said to them, no, afal pikein, nevertheless, I want to hear what there was today in the Bismedrash. It's impossible that there shouldn't be some novelty in the Bismedrash today, and I want you to share with me what that was. So they answered him, or actually he asked them, Shabbos shal mi haisa. The week this week, whose week was it to darshan the Bismedrash? They took a rotation, and that the different Tanoim were darshaning the Bismedrash. They wanted to know who was it that darshaned that week. So he answered him, Shabbos, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Haisa. That was the week that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was darshaning. So he asked them, Ubameh Haisa Agoda Yain. So what did he darshan today? Amru Lai. So they told him, the Parshas Hakel. He darshan today in the Parsha of Hakel, which we spoke about before. Umad Dorashba. And what did he darshan in the Parsha of Hakel? So he darshaned as follows. Hakel is anoshim v'atav. The mitzvah of Hakel is to gather the men, women, and the children. Se'im anoshim ba'im lilmoid. If the men are coming to learn, as it says in the pasuk, Laman Yilmedu, and noshim boys l'shmaya, and the women are coming to hear, as it says in the pasuk, Laman Yishmu, taf lama boin. What are the children coming for? So the answer he said is kedei litin schar lemiviyein, to give reward to those that are bringing the children. They're bringing along the children, so the ones that they're bringing them get reward for this. There's an interesting taisus here. If you look at the last taisus on the Yamid, he says, Valzeh samchu lahavi ktanim beveis hakneses. This is the source to bring children to the shul. Okay, so every shul you have to be able to. Of course, if the children are too noisy, you have to know what to do with them. But this is the source to bring children to shul. There's a sikha from the Rebbe about this piece of Gemara here, that about litn schar lemiviyein, and the Rebbe explains that when it comes to Hakel, there's two different aspects to the mitzvah of Hakel. There's the mitzvah of Hakel from the king's perspective. It's really the king's mitzvah. He has the mitzvah to gather everybody. So as far as the king is concerned, he has a mitzvah to gather all of Klal Yisrael, men, women, and children. And mitzvah that, it's not because they're going to learn or listen or give schar. It's the king's mitzvah to gather all of Klal Yisrael and to speak to them, similar to the way it was by Matan Torah, that all Yidden were present. Now, in addition to the king's mitzvah, every individual Yid has also his mitzvah to come, and to come for a certain purpose. The men to come for a purpose to learn, the women to come for a purpose to hear, and the children to come for the purpose to give schar to those that are bringing them. But the point that Rebbe in the end of the Sikha there, it's a chelik yates, and a sukkah Sikha, very geschmack Sikha, the Rebbe finishes off and says, you see, Hakel was a unique thing that all of Klal Yisrael was present. You don't find this in any other time. It's mamish similar to Matan Torah. And the point is, when you have all the Klal Yisrael together, even the little children, so we're not only talking about a revelation or a level of Torah that you could understand, but we're talking about the essence of Torah, the Amunah of Torah, the Kabbalah Soil of Torah, that's even for children. And the Rebbe's medayik the lashon taf. Taf doesn't only mean children. Taf means even mamish babies that were just born. Everybody had to come. Everybody was present by the time when the Melech read the Torah. The Gemara says, how did Rabbi Yeshua respond to when he heard this drasha? Amalahem, so he told the students, Margolis toiva haisa b'yetchem. You had such a good, precious gem in your hands, this drasha. Or bikashtem la'abdam imeni. And you wanted to have me lose this, that I should lose the opportunity to hear this. Another drasha, that this is going back to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that he darshaned in his week. It was his week to darshan, so he darshaned as well. It says in the pasuk, Es Hashem, Es Havaya, Hamarta Hayom. You have praised Hashem. Rashi teaches the word Hamarta here. V'Havaya Hamircha Hayom, and Hashem has praised you. Amalem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, the Eibusha tells Yidden, Atem asisuni chativachas ba'olam. You have made me into one unique being in the world through your praise. And I will also make you into one unique existence in the world by praising you. And what does this mean? How do you make the Eibusha a unique existence? The pasuk says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. When Yidden proclaim Shema Yisrael. And then he says, the Eibusha says, I will make you into a unique existence in the world. Shanem, the pasuk says, Yisrael, and who is like your nation, the Yidden, go yachad ba'aretz. Right, so this is also the famous medrash that it says in the Eibusha's tefillin. In our tefillin it says Shema Yisrael, and in the Eibusha's tefillin it says Mikam Yisrael, who's like the Yidden, the nation in this world. So there's also a richas the Gemaimer from the Rebbe on this, a Gemaimer from Havaya Marta, Chayel, Tavshim Aleph, I think it is. And the Rebbe talks about this in Barichas Gedaila. One akud the Rebbe says there in the Maimer is, there's a simple question of the Pshat of the Gemara here. What does this mean that we make the Eibusha into one? The Eibusha is one. To say that the Eibusha makes Yidden, takes us apart from all the nations of the world, he chooses us, that's understood. But that we make the Eibusha into one. So the Rebbe answers, yeah, of course the Eibusha is one. But to reveal and draw down that achdus of the Eibusha in the world, that it should be sensed in the world below, that's what Yidden do through their Aveda in this world. To reveal the Eibusha's unity in the world by proclaiming Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Vaita the Gemara says, Va'afu pasach v'darash. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah continued in darshan this following pasuk here. It says, Divrei Chachamim kedarvainis. The words of Chachamim are like a goad, which is used to poke an animal to go forward in the field to do his job. Ukemasmeiris netuim, and like nails that are planted in the ground. Balei asufais, they are gathering together. They gather together. Nitnu miroya echad, everything they teach is given from one shepherd. That's the pasuk. This is a pasuk in, where is this? In Kehelas. So Gemara, he explained what this pasuk means. Laman nimshlu divrei Torah. What are the words of Torah compared to ledarva, to a goat? Laimulacha, to tell you, ma darvan zeh, just like this goat. What is the purpose of it? Mechaven es hapara litlomea. It directs the cow to go in the road that it has to go to do its work, to plow the field. And through the plowing the field, it brings that the field will be planted and bring life to the world. So to the words of Torah, it also guides the ones that learn Torah from a way that can lead you to death to a way that will lead you to life. So that's the beginning of the pasuk. But then you would think like this: Ima darvin zeh, just like this goad, metaltal. It's something that you can move around. It's maneuverable from here to another place. Av divrei Torah metaltal. So you would think that the words of Torah are also sort of maneuverable, and you could change it around. Talmud Laima, therefore the pasuk says right afterwards, masmeirais, that the words of Torah is like a nail that's knocked in that you can't move it from its place. But then, if it's compared to a nail that's knocked into a place, ima masmer zeh, you would think just like a nail, chaser v'lo yeser, that when you knock it into a wall, so then it makes a hole. Something is not lacking. It makes a hole, and there's no yeser. It doesn't increase and add more. After Torah, so too you would think that through the words of Torah, chaserin v'lo yeserin, it brings about a lack, and it doesn't bring about to increase. Talmud Laima, therefore the pasuk uses an unusual term regarding these nails, netuim, that these are nails that are planted. Why does it use this term? Ma'netiyazu, just like when you plant para v'rabba, the result is that it grows and it multiplies. After Torah, so too when a person allows the Torah to be banged into him, it doesn't cause any lack. The opposite, para and v'rabbin, it brings about that the person should grow and multiply. Then the pasuk says, Balei asufais, the ones that gather. What is this gathering? Eilu talmidei chachamim. This refers to all the talmidei chachamim, sheyoshvin asufais, they sit in groups, v'hizkim b'Torah, and they are learning Torah. Halalu metamin, there are those that say that the halach is it's tameh, v'halalu metarin, and others argue and say that it's toyer. Halalu oisrim, some say that it's prohibited, v'halalu matirin, others come and say it's permitted. Halalu paislim, some say that it's pasul, v'halalu machshirin, others come and say it's kosher. These are the groups of the talmidei chachamim that are learning and discussing together the words of Torah. Shema yoymar, Adam, now a person may say, Heichani lamet Torah. How can I learn Torah? There's so many opinions that there are here. How am I going to understand the words of Torah? Meyata, from when I see this situation. Talmud Laimar, so therefore the pasuk says, Kulam nitnu meiraya echad. It was all given from one master, from one shepherd. Keil echad nasnam. One God gave all these different opinions in Torah, and parnas echad amran. Mipi adain kalamaisim. And one parnas, the Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the provider, the Navi Moshe Rabbeinu that gave the Eden, it all comes from one place, from the Eibishter, the master of everything in creation. Baruchu, the Eibishter should be benched, the chsiv, as the pasuk says, Vayedaber Elokim, es kol advarim ha'ela, that the Eibishter spoke all of these words. And afata, so to you as well, when you learn the words of Torah, asei oznecha ka'afar cheses, you should make your ears like a funnel that is in a mill. It has this funnel that,
Mill hopper.
A mill hopper they call it, okay, that it takes out the good. It takes the good and it leaves out the bad. So you have to also figure out how to learn and hear the words of Torah and to take out what you need to. And Knei L'chalev, you should acquire a heart, maven, a heart that will understand L'shmaya as divrei metamim, to hear the ones of the words of the ones that are metamim, as divrei metarim, as divrei eisrim, as divrei matirim, as divrei paislim, as divrei machshirim. You have to hear all the opinions in all sides. But then you have to know how to take out from it. And B'lashon hazeh amalehem. So now, after Rabbi Yeshua heard this drasha of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, right? This was all what they repeated to him. He said, "Ein der yasam." Our generation is not a der, which is a yasam, which is like without a father. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah shari b'seicha, because you have Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah living in our generation, and he's saying such beautiful things. So our der is not a der yasam. Now the Gemara asks, "V'leim rulei behedya." These two Tanoim, who was it? Rabbi Elazar Chisma and Rabbi Yechanan ben Breike, when they came to visit their teacher Rabbi Yeshua, and he asked them, "No, what did you learn in the Bais Medrash?" Why didn't they immediately answer him? Why did they, you had to ask them again until they finally told him? So the Gemara answers, they didn't answer and right away, mishum ma'aser shaya, because of something that happened in the past, and they were very hesitant to respond. Tanya, we learned in the Braisa, the story that happened was Ma'aser Rabbi Yosef ben Drumiskis, a story with Rabbi Yosef ben Drumiskis. Shahalach la'akba pnei Rabbi Eliezer belod. He also went to greet Rabbi Eliezer, so this is not Rabbi Yeshua, I guess. He went to greet his Rabbi Eliezer in Lod. Amaloi, and his Rabbi Eliezer said to him, Ma chidush haya bebeis medrash hayom. What chidush was said in the beis medrash today? Amalei, so he told them as follows, Nimnu v'gomru. Today in the beis medrash they took account and they came to the conclusion that Amayin Umayav, the area on the other side of the Yarden, outside of Eretz Yisrael, on the other side of the Yarden, which is the place of Amayin and Moav that Yidden conquered before they came into Eretz Yisrael, so Meiser Ani b'Shvius, that area, the halacha of Shemitah does not apply over there, and instead you can eat the fruits and all the produce in the year of Shemitah, and you have to give Meiser Ani on the year of Shemitah. Okay, which is two chidushim here. Chiddush number one is that it's not part of Eretz Yisrael and Shemitah applies, and chiddush number two is which Meiser do you give? Meiser Ani. Taisus points out here that on the 6th year they gave Meiser Ani. That's the Meiser you give on the 6th year. So you would think that on the 7th year, if you're going to have to give Meiser, it should be Meiser Sheni. But no, they gave Meiser Ani. That was the chiddush there. That's what he told his Rebbe. This was the chiddush that they took account in the Beis Medrash and they instituted this. Amaloi, so his Rebbe, Rabbi Eliezer, responded very sharply about this. He said, Yosi, my student Yosi, pshoit yedecha, spread out your hands, v'kabelei necha, and be ready to receive your eyes in it. In other words, you deserve to be blinded. Pashat yadav, he spread out his hands, v'kibel einov, and he received his eyes. It's, whether it means literally or it's an expression, and he became blind. And then, it has a good ending, the story, don't worry. Then the Gemara says, Bacha Rabbi Eliezer v'amar. Rabbi Eliezer then cried and said, Soid Hashem lireyav. Look, you see over here how the secret of the Eibishter gets revealed to those that fear him. Ubrisa, in his covenant, lahidiyam, he notifies them. And he said as follows, Amallah, you told Rabbi Yosi, Leicha Meilahem, go tell the people in the Mismedrash that took account and to institute that on the other side of the Yarden there's no Shemitah and they should give Meiser Ani. Tell them, Al tachushu leminyanechem, don't be concerned about this minyan, about this, that you took account to institute this, whether what you did is right or wrong, because the truth is, Kach mukoblani mit Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai, I already have this as a tradition from my Rebbe, Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai, Sheshama mi Rabbi, and he heard it from his teacher, and the Rabbi, May Rabbi, and his teacher heard it yet from his teacher. So from a very long time ago, this was already instituted this way. And that it's a Hilchas el Moshe Misinai, and this was already handed down from Moshe Misinai, that what? That Amayin Umayav, that this area of Amin Umayav, Maestrin, Maiserani, B'Shvius, that you give Maiserani in the year Shemitah. Right? So in other words, this was the reason why he had a Kepeda, why he was so bothered by what Rabbi Yosi said, as if they are the ones that instituted this. This is a halach l'Moshe Misinai. This is already something that was handed down from Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Gemara explains, Ma tam, what's the reason for this, why this is this way, that it's a halach l'Moshe Misinai, that this was handed down, that this is, some take out this over here, this halach l'Moshe Misinai. Okay, because it's not clear, because it seems like it was instituted in an earlier generation, not mamash halacha l'Moshe Misinai. What's the reason for this? Because what happened was harbe krochim kofsha oile Mitzrayim. When the Yidden came up the first time when they entered into Eretz Yisrael with Yeshua, so many different cities they conquered. But then when they came up for the second Beis Hamikdash, v'lei kofsha oile Bavel, the ones that came up the second time, they did not conquer all of those cities. And the reason is because here's the rule. The first time they came into Eretz Yisrael and they sanctified Eretz Yisrael, Kitchel Shaita. That sanctified those cities that they conquered for that time period. But v'lei Kitchel Asad Lavai. The Kedusha that they sanctified then did not remain for the future. When they were expelled from Eretz Yisrael after the Chorban, the Kedusha was removed. And then right? And then what happened? They came back up to Eretz Yisrael the second time, and they reconquered Eretz Yisrael, and they re-sanctified the cities again. And that, when they re-sanctify the cities again, this is a sanctity that remains forever. But v'hinichum, they left those cities of Ammon and Moav that were on the other side of the Yarden, and they did not sanctify them again. Why not? In order that in those areas you shouldn't have to keep Shemitah there. It's not going to be part of the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. And during the Shemitah years, when there's very little produce in Eretz Yisrael, the poor people can go there and get Ma'aser Ani to have what to eat during Shemitah. Okay, so Rashi here brings that in. Said, again, the point is, the first time they conquered Eretz Yisrael, it was Mekadosh, it sanctified Eretz Yisrael, but it didn't remain. Second time, it remains forever. When Mashiach comes, we're not going to have to sanctify Eretz Yisrael again. But they specifically left out that area on the other side of the Yarden. So in the time of Shemitah, there should be an area that you're allowed to plant. You should have produce for the poor people to eat from there. So that's the source of this. Now the Gemara concludes the story. Tana, we learned, after Rabbi Eliezer calmed down about what happened here, he said, may it be the will of Hashem that the eyesight of Rabbi Yossi should return to its place for Chazru. And the eyesight returned. Okay, so the story has a good ending. Okay, we'll stop over here.